And welcome into the Gary Ayd Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Online at cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's all there for you. Facebook and YouTube Live as well. Great to have you aboard. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. And it is a new year. But no, it's still the same old us. If you wanted the new year, new me, wrong show. Rich is too old and I'm too stubborn, so you're stuck with us. Just the same as we were 48 hours ago back in 2022.
Pretty much.
The dad jokes and the bad alliterations have been pouring into social. My favorite so far is I have not bought anything all year on Amazon. Those are good. As for an opening rant today, for the first
I could have said that in December.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Look at you. Unbelievable. For the first time in many years, 8 to be exact, the New York Giants are playoff bound. And that's where we have to start today. Look, Brian Daboll is a great coach. Not a shock to you as a Buffalo guy. He was an OC. He comes over for his first head coaching job further down the state into Manhattan, into the epicenter of the media world. And this guy is just hit the ground running. Everything he's done is just right. I mean, really, the Giants in 1 year created a identity and a brand of football. Everyone knows what the Giants are. And some will try to position that as a bad thing. Well, they're predictable. They only play this one way. Well, that's how they can play and be successful right now. Now, yesterday was a little different from the script, right? Danny Dimes was dropping buckets, throwing peas all over the place. I mean, they scored, 38 points yesterday? A lot of it through the air. I mean, that's atypical. But this year, you've had a very traditional, old school even, offensive approach by necessity. Saquon Barkley is over 1,300 rushing yards on the year. And that has allowed the Giants to play from ahead or in close games throughout much of the year, complemented by their strong defensive play, and then complemented by good play from Jones. He's been asked to play in a certain style and do only a certain amount, and he has responded by being very efficient. What does he have, 5 interceptions or something? Like, he has very few interceptions all year. I should look that up. I actually don't know, but I know he went through a stretch where he threw very few interceptions. And look, he can play that way. There's 3 things. There's 3 takeaways I have from this year's Giants team. 1, Brian Daboll should be coach of the year. 2, Saquon Barkley should get MVP consideration. And 3, Daniel Jones should be the quarterback next year. Give him some weapons on the outside. They had some injuries this year with the receivers, and they didn't have great receivers even to begin with when healthy. Give them some weapons, and let's see what he can do on the next level. There's finally some stability and an underpinning of consistency and confidence there. And so I think Daniel Jones is a reasonably good quarterback. And look at that. Look at me. I got it right on the nose. 5 interceptions all year. Now, he also only has 15 touchdown passes. But that's what we're talking about, right? That's what he's been asked to do. Play action.
3 to 1's a great ratio.
It's a great ratio. The volume's not there, but that's not what they need from him. That's not what they want from him. He's completing 66%, almost 67% of his passes. At least that was yesterday's game. On the season, he's same thing, 67%. And he's also obviously still a very dynamic athlete. Jones can really move. So they use him in play action, RPOs. And look, they're a team that you have to contend with. I mean, this year, Jones has gone over 700 rushing yards, and he has 7 rushing touchdowns. I mean, that's a quality running back. You know what I mean? This is your quarterback. So
that's including 2 on Sunday.
Yes.
He ran for 2 and threw for 2. You uttered 7 words I never thought I would hear you say. Daniel Jones should be the starting quarterback.
I never thought I would have to say them, but I mean,
I think under Brian Daboll, this is always my problem with the young quarterbacks, and I'm guilty of it as well. People are so quick to write them off. maybe it's just garbage coaching.
Well, that's the problem with quarterbacks in general, and we talk about this a lot. If you aren't an all-timer, your ultimate success or failure, whether you have a good career or no career, or a mediocre career or a bad career, all comes down to your situation. It's funny. We like to think of quarterback as the difference maker, and in a lot of ways they are, but in just as many ways, they are completely dependent on everything around them. It's not like an NBA player, like a truly great NBA player, a LeBron, a Kevin Durant, someone like that. They they can, to a great extent, um, influence their own outcome. Then you can't
Yeah.
win a whole title by yourself. But if you're a great player in your prime, most of the time you could at least be playoff contending. Um,
An example, look at what Milwaukee did last night without Giannis.
right. Yep, exactly. So, I mean, but in the NFL, even for the quarterbacks, you simply cannot do it on your own. You can't. There's too many moving parts. I mean, for one thing, if the line doesn't show up, everyone's dead, right? Like, I mean, like, it just
Right.
starts there. I mean, just imagine if the offensive line didn't line up, the guy would be killed in half a second, right? So there's that. Then there's, you mentioned the coaching, but then there's, I could throw the ball and hit you right in the hands, and if you have hands like my buddy Rob, I'm not going to get a completion. You know what I mean? Like, so the guy has to catch the ball. Then he has to do something with it. The blockers have to be there. The defense has to hold up enough. Like, there's so many things that are just out of your control that, like, a lot of guys who maybe aren't great but could be good in certain situations never get a chance in those situations before the league moves on from them. So then they just get written off as weren't able. Now, some guys just really aren't. But other guys, a good example of this is Ryan Tannehill. Look at the mid-career renaissance he had by just finding himself in the right situation. He's not a great quarterback, but he's good enough that if you put him in a good situation, he's okay. Geno Smith this year is another example of that.
He's completing 70% of his
Yep.
passes.
Russell Wilson spent his whole career as assistant quarterback. Everyone thought he was a star except me. And then, every once in a while I'm right about these crazy things. And this is one of them, it appears. But, like, so now he goes from a great system to no system, and lo and behold, he stinks. Like, it's all about your situation. It just is. I don't think Daniel Jones is a great quarterback. I think he's competent. I think he's average. And I think guys who are just competent and average need better situations than guys who are transcendent. Look, Aaron Rodgers is about to maybe win a division or make a playoff appearance as a wild card with a roster where you can't name anyone other than him and 80-year-old Randall Cobb. But he's Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Guys like that can do that. Daniel Jones people can't do that. But, at the end of the day, ultimately, great players are still great, and average players need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so for the first time, Daniel Jones has that help. He has a coach, and ultimately, they're winning. And also, Barkley's healthy. We'd be remiss in not saying that. That's a big difference.
That's key.
Now, I do think it's fair to wonder if the last coaching regime, had they had a healthy Saquon Barkley, might have been able to accomplish something similar. My guess is no, because I think Dable's a great coach, but I can't say 100% that if the last coaching regime had a healthy Barkley, they wouldn't have had a lot more success. I believe they probably would have, because I think most coaches would be reasonable enough to be like, well, we got a workhorse over here. Let's use them. But you never know.
Very true.
It takes patience. I mean, that's the thing. In the modern pass-happy NFL, to be this type of methodical, run-first, ball control, systematic offense, it takes patience, which is a skill unto itself for a coaching staff.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely. And that coaching staff, when you said he hit the ground running, Daboll absolutely did.
That's it.
The 2-point conversion to win a game in game one. He pretty much showed you where he stood. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's what he's doing. He's made Jones a competent quarterback.
Yep.
A lot of people felt he had that ability before, but it was never shown. So a lot of people just got tired of seeing the same old thing. But we saw the same old thing from more than one head coach.
Right.
If you make, and this is why when we were talking last week about the Denver situation, the right hire is the utmost of importance. And no, it's not Jim Harbaugh. More about that later. Daboll was the right hire.
He was.
And Jones won't be a superstar ever. But maybe he won't be a washout either.
Well,
he definitely adds something.
Well, yeah, the one thing about Daniel Jones, and unlike Zach Wilson, who doesn't seem to have any redeeming qualities at all, the one thing about Jones, even at the depths of the Giants' ineptitude over these last few years, you always knew that the guy was ready to play, very much like Eli, doesn't get hurt, and he is an athlete. The guy absolutely can make plays with his legs, and he always had that ability. So at least you had that going for you with Daniel Jones. There were a lot of things you didn't have going for you, and some of them, like you were just saying, you probably never will. He's not that type of player. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. But, could he be Ryan Tannehill? Could he be have a career like Matt Ryan? Before Matt Ryan, went to the insane asylum, like the original Matt Ryan. Let's not wish that on him. Before Matt Ryan went crazy, maybe. I think Tannehill's a good comparison. I think maybe what we saw from earlier in the year with Tua, maybe. Jones is an interesting talent. Maybe he could be like what Russell Wilson was early on in Seattle. Like, I think those are the guys you look at and say, I don't see any reason why Daniel Jones can't potentially do that.
Oh, I don't either.
He
is a system quarterback.
He's a system quarterback who has one strong gift, which is his ability to make plays with his legs.
Yes. If he plays within that system and it's the right system put around him, which this one seems to be, then you make the playoffs for the first time since 2016.
Yep.
That's nice.
That's it.
That's nice. And good for him, because I don't want to see them use their first-round draft pick on another quarterback who there's no guarantee. I'd rather see them use it on a wide receiver and get a real playmaker in here.
Oh, yeah. They have to get playmakers. I mean, if there's one thing, regardless of where this season finishes up for the Giants, which, of course, is in the playoffs, and to what extent, time will tell. But regardless of where they finish up, even if they went on some crazy run and ended up in the Super Bowl, which isn't going to happen, but even if they did, like, I want a receiver, like a big time receiver. I would be willing to trade draft capital if someone, like, let's say Devontae Adams gets disgruntled with the Raiders, which I think is a distinct possibility given their benching of Carr, who he went there for.
I don't know. He looked pretty gruntled yesterday.
Well, yes.
He played great.
Yeah, that aside. But let's say someone like that becomes available. He's just the name that came to my mind given recent events. I would be all over that. I would rather trade a number one and future like third, fourth, or fifth rounders for a guy like that than draft a guy with my number one pick who's not proven. Like, to me, I would be looking for a proven veteran, game-changing receiver if I can get my hands on one. Those guys don't grow on trees. I'm aware of that.
Right.
But if there was one that was even remotely available, I would go for him, which is why I was kind of disappointed that the Beckham thing never happened. I actually thought that aside from the storyline of him coming back to New York here where he started his career, I actually thought he just fit a glaring need for this team. And maybe that'll happen in the offseason. That still makes sense to me. Maybe Beckham really never was ready to play this year with that knee injury. Maybe that was the end. It was just a media-driven story that Beckham fed into and others fed into. Maybe he was never really going to sign anywhere this year, but I still think he would make a big difference for the Giants in next year. I really do.
I thought this year was a wash for him.
Clearly.
It got tiring, it got frustrating. I just wanted him to go away.
Yes.
I didn't want him in Buffalo. I didn't want him in Kansas City. I didn't want him teasing the Giants. I just wanted him to go away.
Oh no.
Next year might be a good idea.
Yeah, I was all about the storyline. It was a great regular season storyline. Maybe it ended up not panning out anywhere.
And he
but,
wouldn't have played in the regular season anyway, like he said.
right. Well, that came to light in the last few weeks that was the case. But when this really picked up steam in like whatever it was, like week 6 or so, that wasn't known at that point.
Right.
So I really think he would be an absolute great fit for the Giants. They need receivers. That's the one thing that's clear. They could probably use a little more pass rush too, but this team is on its way. And for the first time in a very, very long time, they have a blueprint and a system and a foundation to build from and to work with for the rest of this season, whatever that ends up being. Of course, they have one more game next week, and then they have the playoffs. So we'll see how that plays out. A lot to get to today. We got NBA stuff, which we'll get to next. We have the question of the day later on today. Of course, we got some New Year's resolutions. Oh, I got a couple. I'll tell you what those are. Great to have you aboard. First show of the new year. Back after this 2-minute break. Right back. The Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we are back. Well, I'm back. Rich will be back. I'm sure he'll come back. It's a nice living room, though, I have to say. Good stuff. All right, so check this out. So NBA has really been going pretty strong this year, right? Like, so they are really beginning. You're getting a sense for who's who in the NBA now. And one thing that I've determined, there are 6 guys in the NBA right now, 6 players, Rich, who, in my estimation, have fully and completely separated themselves from the pack. There's 6 guys. Boban is 7. Close 7.
Thank you.
Close 7. There's 6 guys that are just on a different level. And those guys are, I know 5 is the number, but I can't eliminate any of these guys. So we're going with 6. There's no rule. It has to be 5, right? So we're going with 6. Those guys in no particular order are Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, and Luka. Those 6 guys, in my estimation, are head and shoulders the best players in the NBA right now. They're just playing at a different level. I mean, every night one of them does something crazy. And a lot of nights, multiple of them do something crazy. I mean, Durant's shooting an ungodly percentage these last couple of weeks. The Nets as a team are shooting over 51% from the field and almost 40% from 3. That's insane. I mean, that's as a team for the whole season. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, him and Irving are both shooting the lights out. And then LeBron is doing LeBron stuff. Jokic continues to be just from another planet in terms of his ability to just do so much stuff. And Luka is from a further away different planet. I mean, and Embiid is just, a quiet. I know it sounds crazy saying Embiid and quiet in the same sentence, but he's like quietly just dominating people every night.
That's the perfect 6.
Yep, those are the guys. And
that is it. What Luka's been doing has been otherworldly.
It has, and he's like brought the Mavs kicking and screaming back into relevancy. I mean,
they needed it.
They're trying so hard to underachieve, and he's not letting them. Them and Minnesota have been the 2 teams this year, in my opinion, that have really underachieved. But the difference is that Dallas has Luka, who is, like I just said, single-handedly pulling them by their ears and making them relevant. Minnesota doesn't have that guy.
Right.
And they're a disappointment. I mean, what are they, 4 games under 500? That's going to go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history, perhaps. If they don't become like instantly competitive over the next couple of years, all those draft picks they gave up for Gobert, the reason they did it is they thought they had a window to compete for, a conference finals or beyond. So I understood it. But, when you give up that many draft picks, if you don't cash in, let alone if you don't make the playoffs, my God, can you imagine?
Gobert's having his worst year.
Oh, he looks horrible. He looks lost.
It doesn't even look like him.
No, it doesn't.
He's one of those that needed to stay where he was.
Yeah. Yep.
If he and Mitchell had issues and they decided, well, we're going to move Mitchell anyway, they should have kept Gobert.
I think so.
Although I know they want to build around the draft capital, but hey, I'll tell you what, take one of those draft picks and throw it on the court and see how well it does.
Yes. Yep.
Because right now they're just nothing.
Yep. No, you're right. And think about, not for nothing, the Jazz have been somewhat surprising this year, but they're a mediocre team, great offensive team, absolutely horrendous defensively. What if you put Gobert in that lineup? Evens things out a little bit. Maybe instead of being a game or 2 over or below 500, depending on the week, maybe they're 7 games over 500. I don't think that's unreasonable to think that a presence like Gobert in a system and setting he's familiar with couldn't mean a difference of 5 or so additional wins to this point. I think that's reasonable.
I do agree. I agree. And I thought he was an elixir for Minnesota. I really did. I figure he's going to make up for the lack of defense that Towns plays.
That's why I thought it was a good trade, even though they overpaid in terms of the amount of capital for the level of player he is, because of what you just said, Rich.
That's Danny Ainge.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was okay with
draft picks.
He does. And then he lets them die on the vine. He never uses them or turns them into anything.
Yeah.
Like, at least since he got Tatum and Brown. I mean, I guess he did do that, but like all those draft picks that they had for all those years, they like kind of just wasted away. I have a feeling he won't do that in Utah.
No, well, I think in his situation in Boston, building around the kids, there was really nothing out there that he wanted to give up those kind of picks for.
Right.
And I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. Between New Orleans, Utah, and Oklahoma City, no one else is drafting for the next 5 years.
Pretty much.
It's those 3 teams got like 30 draft picks between the 3 of them.
Next on the clock, Oklahoma City. The Knicks just watching.
That's it. Just chilling. Lakers, they're not even watching. They don't even get to pick for 4 more years. They're just hanging out.
No, but and I don't care how many second round picks you got there.
They don't count.
Practice fodder.
That's it. That's it. No, but you look at this and you think, okay, if you're Minnesota, like, where do you go from here? Because I mean, you're kind of married to this roster. See, this is one of those situations, and I'm never a fan of anyone losing their job, but this is one of those situations where the only way I could see us getting appreciably better if I'm Minnesota in the near future, which we need to focus on because of what we just did with that trade, is maybe the system and the coaching approach doesn't fit this roster. And I'm not usually in favor of coaching changes, but we saw it with Brooklyn. Look, they are a different team with Jacques Vaughn.
They are.
Like, so it can happen. We saw it with
But
Nick.
they had a guy that had zero coaching experience.
Well, yes. It's not the exact
Minnesota
same situation.
doesn't.
No, it's not the same situation. But
And I don't know if a coach is going to fix this.
I don't know if it will, but I know it's the only thing I can reasonably try. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do? You don't have draft capital. You just traded it away. You are
Well, you can build through the draft. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. That's not going to work.
We could sign some free agents. Oh,
really nothing else
Minnesota.
they can do.
I'm not signing any free agents.
It's Minnesota
Right.
who's going there.
So that's what I mean. Like, what else can you do? I mean, you could try to trade.
Everybody, that's enough. Okay.
I mean, if you
We're
want
not
to,
staying.
if you want to be crazy, maybe you could try to trade one of these guys. I mean, guys like Russell, Edwards, and Towns, all of them would have varying degrees of trade value. You could get some stuff for all of them. I would trade
I
Towns.
think Edwards has the most.
But he's the one I want
trade
the most.
Value.
See, I have the most confidence in him still getting a lot better. Towns is the one I'm done with. Towns is the one I'm done with. His attitude
Edwards
stinks.
has to get better because his playing habits are terrible.
Yeah, but he has such ability that despite his terrible habits, he makes a lot of impact in every game he plays in. So I think Towns is the one I want to get rid of. Guys,
I think his value is so low now with 2 years of injury issues.
Well, no, it is low, but
I wouldn't give up a number one for him.
Yeah,
unless it's a lower number one.
Right. I think someone would.
But I sure wouldn't give up a top 10 pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will see. I think someone would give up that for Towns. I mean, particularly like if I'm a team, like let's say I'm a team, I'll give you a good example. If I'm Toronto, I have a reasonably good roster. I have absolutely no interior anything. I'm not even talking about interior defense. I mean interior anything.
Yeah, you still wouldn't have interior defense.
You wouldn't, but you would get some inside scoring that you don't currently have. Like, so, or if I'm Indiana, if I end up moving Miles Turner, or even if I don't, maybe even more so if I don't, those two might play well together. They're very much opposites in terms of how they play and what they do. I think it would have to be a team that's like on the bubble of the playoffs right now that feels Towns puts them squarely in the mode of definite playoff team. I think those are the type of teams that he would make sense for.
Those are two very good scenarios.
Yep.
Because I think both teams, Toronto and Indiana, are more than one piece away. But that one piece could bring them into a playoff spot, especially Toronto.
Yeah, if Toronto had Towns, they're in the playoffs. They're a 50-win team with him.
And then I would give up my number one pick because it wouldn't be a top 10 pick.
Right. Another one, opposite end of the spectrum. But, I've often thought, whether it's Towns or someone else, I think the Spurs need something identifiable on their roster. Like right now, it's like, when I think of the Spurs, I think of a grouchy old man and I think of a backup center. Like, that's not good enough. Like, I need something to think about.
I really like Devin Vassell.
Okay.
He's throwing in around 20 a night. He's really great. He's a young player who's grown into that role, and he's like kind of taking the leadership role on that team. Is he worthy of building around? I don't know.
Yeah. No, he's not worthy of building around, but
But is he a piece? Oh, absolutely.
yeah, he's a piece, but like, Lonnie Walker's a piece. You know what I mean? But like,
Or is he just scoring because no one else can?
I think both are true. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think he's a piece on a good team, but I also think he's just scoring because, there are X number of possessions you're going to have in a game. You got a 24-second shot clock on every one of them. Someone's going to shoot
Right.
it, so
Right.
some of those are going to go in. So, it may as well be him, I guess. I mean, but the thing is with them is their defense is absolutely horrible. They give up 120 or something a night. That's a disaster.
What defensive players are on that team?
Well, I don't know anyone on the team. Like those are just saying.
I mean, Pirtle can block some shots.
He's a backup center.
But that's it.
Yeah, he's a backup center.
He's a backup.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I think San Antonio needs to put something on their roster, even if it's not going to make them good. It just gives them something like, okay, the Spurs and this guy. Like when you listen to the game promos, it's like LeBron James and the Lakers, Kevin Durant and the Nets, Chris Paul and the Suns, Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. Like, no, that's not good. Okay, fine. Jacob Pirtle and that's worse.
Well, he's not. He's the most recognizable one there.
That's the problem. That's what I mean. Like, that's exactly the issue.
Watch the old man yell at a cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Tim Duncan, is he there? Oh, he's on the sideline. It's more interesting than anything on the court. Oh, my goodness. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll do the question of the day. We'll get into the Knicks, who have been playing lately, but they did get a win in their last game. A lot of injuries with them. We'll talk about them, what they can do as we approach the All-Star break in the next month. So a lot to get to. More basketball, some more NFL, and some New Year's resolutions. But next, it's the radio question of the day. Back after this, it's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Virtual reality technology is trickling down from the majors. I am KO, back in 1 minute with your sports question of the day.
History buffs. This tale from Michael Olson's Tales from a Tin Can took place aboard the USS Dale during the opening moments 7 December 1941.
As we left our berth and got underway, the deck force was still engaged in getting ready for combat. Fuller had the job of clearing the deck of all the wooden objects that had collected in port, so Fuller was making his way aft, just tossing stuff like a madman, when he came to the ice cream freeze. Before he could toss it over the side, one of the guys said, "Hey, wait a minute." In a matter of seconds, the lock was broken and the ice cream distributed among the crew. So, what you saw that morning was the USS Dale steaming hell-bent out to the channel while the guys back aft were standing by their guns, eating ice cream and watching World War II break out all around.
Tales from a Tin Can contains 424 tales by 44 sailors aboard the USS Dale, from Pearl Harbor to Tokyo Bay. Order your Father's Day copy at talesfromatincan.com. That's talesfromatincan.com.
Virtual reality trainers used to cost Major League Baseball teams a small fortune. But now that the technology has become less expensive, easier to transport, and small enough to manage, the tech is being used throughout every level of the sport. The Athletic contributor Eno Saris reports that the real trick is finding out how to use it, as a major leaguer is going to want different things than will an 8-year-old who is just getting used to the batter's box. Question: where would you prefer to take your practice swings? At the batting cages or in virtual reality?
This one's actually interesting, and my answer might surprise you. Virtual reality batting cages are actually really fun. I've had a chance to use them in the past, and they're actually really cool. It's kind of like what the Wii started 15, 20 years ago, is like kind of taken to the next level. Oculus is the Facebook Oculus is like the commercially known version of this. Of course, the ones that the MLB teams use are probably more specialized, but probably built on the same engine, maybe even the same patented technology. Who knows? But I think that this is closer than I probably, if I'm a serious baseball player, I have access to batting cages, so I probably would just do that more because I have access to it. But if I'm like, what they're talking about, lower levels, like not at a major college, not in minor leagues or major leagues, something like, little league or high school or something of that nature, I think I might just go with the virtual reality mostly because it's probably something I can put in my house with limited effort and expenditure. I mean, basically, I could do this with Oculus just about, and
Right.
it gives me
Right.
access at a lower cost point that is maybe it's not quite as good, but it's close enough that it's better than nothing. And I don't have to pay year round and schlep. If I have a kid who's not driving age, doesn't have a car or whatever, I don't have to schlep them back and forth 4 or 5 times a week to a batting cage that might not be near my house and pay every time. Like there is some actual value to this, I think, on the lower levels of competition. So, if given the choice between the two, I'd probably still prefer the traditional, but it's a negligible preference when you factor in all of the other realities that are standard in most circumstances. So I'd probably go with the virtual reality in most cases in real life. In an ideal world, I would take the traditional, but the world's not ideal, even in 2023.
Right. And the way I'm situated here, I have a ways to drive to hit batting cages.
Right. A lot of places do.
And I used to do it all the time. I also have tried the VR and it's amazing.
It's a lot of fun. It really
And
is.
it really is. And I would do that. And then I have to take weather into consideration
Yep.
too.
That's a factor too. Yeah. Time of
I
the year.
could I could bat 12 months out of the year.
Yep. It's true. No, that's exactly part of that's what excites me about it. It's accessibility. It's actually it reminds me of when I was a teenager. So I remember being about 14, 15 years old, and I remember I was a baseball guy. That was my favorite sport from the time I can remember till early or mid high school. And at a certain point, I realized, well, I'm not going to be a major leaguer. So the question is, okay, I'm probably not going to play beyond high school. I didn't even play in high school. I played like, little league up through like the seniors, which is like 16, 17 years old. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do with myself? Like I'm going to want to play, but I'm not going to be able to. And baseball requires a lot of access. It requires equipment, fields, lots of people, good weather. Like it requires an act of God basically to get a pickup game in baseball. Whereas
Right.
in basketball, it's the most accessible sport ever invented. I go down to the park, I could walk there in 8, 10, 12 minutes, and I can get a game whenever I felt like it. And I think
Right.
that this technology is a small step in partially leveling that accessibility disadvantage. Everyone will turn this into a race thing or a thing to do with like socioeconomics, which I guess that could be a part of it. But even if you're from a well-off family, it's not easy practicing and playing baseball. It's a hardcore commitment. This does make it easier. It does. Even if you have the means to do it the traditional way, this is still very helpful. Whereas like shooting simulations in basketball, for example, same technology exists. I find much less appealing and much less useful because getting shots up the quote unquote real way is so much easier to do. I don't need a lot to accomplish that.
Right. Right.
Baseball, you do. Even just to take batting practice, you need most of the same stuff you would need to play a game. Okay, you need less people, but you still need a pitcher. You want someone shagging fly balls, probably multiple someones. You need a catcher or a backstop of some kind. Like, and you need the space and the equipment. Like, you still need stuff.
Right.
And that's just batting practice.
See, basketball and soccer are the ideal sports for that because there's places to play everywhere and there's not a lot of cost involved.
Right. Soccer, you still need a lot of, you need a little bit more than you need with basketball.
Oh, actually, you can go down and work on moves and stuff by yourself.
Yeah, but
Same way you can shoot the ball by yourself.
but you can't really play 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 soccer is my point. Like, you can't get like an easy pickup game without 8-10 people.
Right.
That's what I
Right.
mean.
It's got to be at least 4 people aside.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Whereas with basketball, you could play 1-on-1.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but no, I hear what you're saying about soccer though. There are elements of it that are accessible. It's cheap, doesn't require a lot of equipment. You do need decent weather.
Right.
In most cases, although they do have some indoor places. We have one not too far from here. So yeah, no, it's duly noted. But this is an interesting question. Like, unlike a lot of these technologies that I tend to be like the scoffing old man about, this one I actually like. I see real market application for it. I really do.
And I feel the same way.
There we
The
go.
traditional is always best.
It is. I mean, if I have my choice of facing a live pitcher in a live situation where I could like feel the real ring of the ball on my hands, like it's better. But I think virtual reality is close enough that given the circumstances of what's generally involved in getting batting practice in, I think it's a viable alternative. I do.
I agree.
All right. Well, there we have it. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with a look around the NHL and our New Year's resolutions. That's what's on tap. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just right for you. It's called Spirit Dental. Spirit Dental offers a $100 lifetime deductible, a huge network of dentists. And here's the best part. There's no waiting periods. Yeah, that means you can call right now and have real dental insurance for you and your family tomorrow and get that immediate coverage you want. Spirit Dental has plans for just a few dollars a day, up to $5,000 annual maximum, and coverage for implants. Whatever age you are, the dental insurance you need is a free phone call away. Now don't wait, and be sure to ask about Spirit's vision plan. Here's the number: 800-631-9229. 800-631-9229. That's 800-631-9229.
Hey friend, life happens and you need money. What do? You call the special toll-free number we're about to give you. We will send you a link to your phone with details on how you can loan up to $5,000. Couldn't you use $5,000 to pay for your rent, pay grocery bills, get your car repaired, or whatever you need? It's up to you. We don't care. We're just here to lend you the money. And we'll lend people money with good, bad, or no credit at all. Of course, some terms and conditions apply, and you'll see those on the link we're going to send you. So if you need up to $5,000 maybe as soon as the next business day, call this number right now. We will text you a free link with details.
Paid for by Money Mutual. Call 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. 800-586-7112. That's 800-586-7112.
All right. So, as far as a New Year's resolution is concerned, I resolve to make sure that I continue to fight the fight on social media when it comes to discrediting some of the all-time greats, whether it's LeBron, whether it's, I see it with Peyton Manning, but especially LeBron. I'm going to continue to fight that battle because the more and more this guy plays, the longer he plays at this level, the more and more ridiculous his haters sound. And I just saw something, what reminded me of this is I saw something during the break, Rich. This is according to ESPN stats and information. This is interesting. So according to ESPN stats, if Luka Doncic played 20 full seasons and continues his scoring, rebounds, and assist average, by the time he retired, he would be the all-time leader in points and have 13,000 assists and 12,000 rebounds. He's already broken all of LeBron's youngest 2 records in his first 5 seasons. Now, Luka's unbelievable, but I'll tell you this. He has shades of Shaq in him. He can get a little pudgy, a little out of shape. He said it himself. I'd be willing to bet he does not hold up his output in year 20 or anywhere close to it the way LeBron has. I'd be willing to bet that today. As great as Luka is, and he's the best player I've seen come in the NBA since LeBron. There's no doubt about it. I don't think he holds up. Well, for one thing, he doesn't have LeBron's athleticism, and that's not a big deal right now because his athleticism is plenty good enough at 23 to do whatever he needs. But I think time won't be as kind to him because LeBron was such a great athlete that whatever slippage he's had, first of all, he's maintained his athleticism to a level that doesn't even make sense. But besides that, whatever slippage he has, he had so much of it starting out that, he's just, he's still way ahead of the game. Luka's not going to have that advantage with age. And I don't think he takes care of himself anywhere near as well as LeBron always did. So I don't envision Luka maintaining his basically prime performance in year 18, 19, and 20 the way LeBron has done.
I don't either. Although his conditioning and the way he takes care of himself can change.
It could. Yeah.
I mean, he's still, about 23, 24?
Yeah, and I think it will get better. But LeBron was, from the time he was 18, obsessed with it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's a different level of, I think, because I think most guys in the NBA take relatively good care of themselves, right? But, like, I think one of the reasons LeBron is still doing what he's doing is because he didn't just kind of take care of himself. He's obsessed with it.
And that's the differentiator.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Kobe was able to play at a high level for a long time too. He was obsessed with it. But so that's an interesting one. But
plus it's already way too early to tell.
Well, it is
on any of that. I mean, it's like the most extreme form of speculation.
Yeah, it's speculation, although it's rooted in comparisons to their first 5 years. That's where it came from. You know, so it's extrapolation off of what's already happened. So it's not total speculation. It's way far out.
Well, it is because you have no idea how many
it's
years Luka's gonna play.
Well, it's way far out projection, but it's not based off of nothing. Like, he has already done this, so that's where it's coming from. But so I don't have any problem with that. I just think, in analyzing it, I think the two advantages LeBron has that are going to prove to be the undoing of Luka maintaining this pace is, I think he had the advantage of greater athleticism, and LeBron is obsessive with his conditioning.
Yes.
And it's just, more to your point, the odds of it, like, we've never seen this before. So it's easy to say, well, what you're doing at 23, it's the same reason no one's really ever put a real challenge to Jerry Rice's NFL receiving records, because in order to do that, yeah, you could be Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss and be the quickest and youngest to this or that, but you have to basically do what you did at 24 at 39 and 40.
Right. And this is a reason these stats are meaningless to me. This is not going to be a once in every decade phenomenon. It's just not.
I agree. No, I agree.
People just need to accept it.
I agree. But I don't want people to just accept it because I want the conversation around it.
To me, it's fruitless. I don't have that much time in my life to deal with trying to educate everyone.
I always have time for fun speculation like this, but I do think that ultimately, to your overall point, which is this isn't likely to happen again, is probably true. I mean, look, Jerry Rice has been retired for 20 years now, right? Like, no one's come anywhere close. Owens gave it a little bit of a run. Fitzgerald gave it a run, but none of them really came anywhere close, right? I mean, like, we'll go look these stats up real quick, just for a point of reference. NFL all-time receiving leaders. Here we go. So, like, Jerry Rice is the leader in all three categories by a relatively good margin. So, in receptions, he has a 117 reception edge over Fitzgerald. That's the closest anyone's come in any of these categories, is in receptions. Fitzgerald came within 120 of one great season or two okay seasons. So he came kind of close. Yards, no one's anywhere near him. Yards, Jerry Rice is 22,895. Fitzgerald again was second, a full 5,000 behind him, basically 17,492. That's like half a really good career. And then touchdowns, the closest to him is Randy Moss at 156. Jerry Rice is 197. So like, it's gonna be it's not gonna happen. And the reason for that, and this is why it's such an interesting comparison, the reason for it is Jerry Rice kept up his prime performance into year 18, 19, and 20. Or 17, 18, and 19, whatever it was. And that's almost impossible to do. I mean, it's pretty much him that's done that.
True.
No one else.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this in about Jerry Rice's receiving records. Had Terrell Owens not been the pain in the neck that he was, I think he would have continued playing at a high level for a lot more years and would have closed the gap on a lot of these. I think he was the guy that was positioned because he was a lot like LeBron physically. Terrell Owens is a specimen of the highest order. He truly is. He still is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not total insanity that he's talking about trying to play. He won't. But I mean, I did read that he just recently ran like a 4.5 40. He's 50 years old. Like Darryl Green was like this. Just was great athletically, well into retirement years. So you do get these guys every once in a while.
True.
What do we got in the NHL?
We had 3 games yesterday involving local / statewide teams. Carolina Hurricanes improved their winning streak to 11, 16 unbeaten. They beat the Devils in a shootout 5-4, and it was an interesting and fun game to watch yesterday afternoon. In Florida, the Rangers beat the Panthers, broke their 2-game losing streak. Mika Zibanejad scored twice, and they just completely dominated that game. We had one more game. Ottawa scored a late empty net goal and beat the Buffalo Sabres 3-1, breaking their 7-game winning streak. We had a milestone yesterday. Alexander Ovechkin got his 30th career hat trick. He's only, at his age, he got another hat trick. He's only the 6th player in history to reach the 30 plateau. If he continues doing this, he might pass Lemieux at 40 in second place. Going to be hard to pass Gretzky, who has 50. No local teams playing today, but we do have an interesting game. We have the Winter Classic in Boston with the Boston Bruins and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The outdoor game is always one of the best. People are concerned because it's going to be near 50 degrees. But a couple of years ago, they played one in Dallas in 54 degrees. As long as the sun isn't too strong, it won't affect the ice at all. But that's a 2:00 game, and that is definitely going to have my attention.
There you go. I do think Ovechkin is one of these guys that we're talking about too that just seems to maintain his peak performance so late into a career. Now, there is a little more precedent for older players being really good later in hockey than in other sports. Lemieux's done it.
Yes.
Certainly Gordie Howe did it. There's been a few of these guys. Chris Chelios was a great defenseman late into his 40s. So there's a little more precedent than in other sports, but
True.
It's still pretty impressive.
It's still rare.
Yes.
When you consider history.
Yes. Couple other things worth noting over the weekend. The Knicks have continued to kind of fall apart. They did win their last game. It seems that they kind of lost their way from Christmas forward. They got to circle the wagons back.
Oh, they got a tough one at home tonight against the Suns, too.
And they're without
That,
Brunson and Barrett in this one, I believe.
yes, that would be a worthy signature win tonight if they can do that against the Suns shorthanded.
I'll tell you, it's gonna be tough against those two without those two guys.
It is. It really is. But this is where your bench needs to step up.
I wonder how the Suns will approach Randall in this game, given Brunson and Barrett's absence. I mean, do they just hard double him? I mean,
I wouldn't. If they do,
you don't really need
fine.
to.
It's not going to last long.
Right.
Because who are you going to leave open? Quickly if he's in? Just give him the points then.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not going to double off quickly. I would probably double off of whoever is going to be backing up Barrett, whether it's I guess there would be Rose probably, right? Is he going to play? And that's what I'm curious about. How are the
and
Knicks
then what
gonna,
do you do? Play 3 guards?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, how are the Knicks going to play this? Because okay, Quigley backs up Brunson. That's easy. Okay, no problem.
Right.
What are you doing at the 2 guard? I mean, Quigley and Rose on the court together would be that's going to be not the best situation. Although Booker is out, so that makes it a little easier.
Well, they normally play Brunson and Grimes, so Barrett plays the 3.
Okay, so now
in this case, I don't remember my Sean Connery. In this case, I don't.
Fournier, maybe? Maybe you slide Grimes up to the 2 and put Fournier in at the 3 and go with a starting lineup of Quigley, Grimes, Fournier, Randall, and Robinson, I guess, with Rose off the bench.
How about Reddish?
Well, it is still Thibodeau. He doesn't like Reddish, but yeah, that's an option too.
They're going to have to use him.
Yeah, he's going to be in. Yeah, so I would imagine that either he gets to start or he's one of the first guys off the bench along with Rose.
I'd rather see him get the start and bring Fournier in.
Yeah, so okay,
off the bench.
So maybe you do that.
I don't think that'll happen.
No, but but either way, those are going to be your rotation guys, I suppose.
Right. Right. And again, the Suns being without Booker, it's not impossible.
No. It's just unlikely. It's hard to imagine them getting enough points without those 2. Like that's where I struggle here. I mean, but like you said, with Booker being out, that does help like a lot. So
yes.
We'll see.
They have to replace 26 points, which is almost what they have to replace with Brunson.
Right.
Barrett's points are going to have to come from 2 players, and I think it can be done.
Who do you got tonight in that matchup?
I'm going to go with the Knicks.
I like it. All right, fine.
I mean, it's not much of a spread. It's 1.5, but I like them at home. I think they need to make this statement this afternoon. It's the earliest game. It's 3:00 game.
Well, there we go. All right.
I think they need to make that statement.
Well, we got our top 5 coming up. We're going to do that after the break. We also have news you can use this hour. And one thing we have, which is kind of cool, over the next couple of days, we got our NFL power rankings, our NBA power rankings. We're going to start doing those once a week, debuting them this week. And of course, we have our NFL playoff scenarios, which we will do Wednesday. So tomorrow we're going to do our NFL power rankings. Wednesday we'll do our playoff scenarios. Thursday we'll do our NBA power rankings and our Thursday pick, of course. And then Friday we'll do our last batch of NFL picks for the regular season. So a lot of cool stuff to get to. When we come back, we'll do the top 5. We got news you can use and more information throughout the show as well. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave. All righty, hour 2 of the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave, cavetalkradio.com and the Cave Talk Radio app. Great to have you aboard. First show of the new year, 2023. Welcome aboard, one and all. Gary Ayd, Rich Anselmo. Hour 2, top of the hour, means one thing. Even in the new year, some things never change. Top of the hour means top 5. And Jack George.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for King Talk Radio's Top 5.
All righty, let's do it, baby. What do we got for the first top 5 of 2023?
Well, we are going to go on a theme we did last week in the top 5, where we did the worst sports contracts. And it was pretty much a baseball-laden show.
It was.
Because they have so many bad contracts.
So many of them, yes.
Let's do it today for football. Give me your top 5 worst football contracts you've ever seen.
You mean besides Matt Flynn?
You can use Matt Flynn.
All right, I'll use Matt Flynn. All right, so there's Matt Flynn. Let's see, who else we got? You know, Jamarcus Russell. I mean, because remember, when he was drafted, they didn't have the rookie scale they have now. So he got like some ungodly amount of guaranteed money that like would still look pretty good today, 20 years later.
Oh, yes.
And he was, I mean, an all-time historic draft bust. One of my favorite stories I've ever heard in football revolves around Russell. It's not flattering for him, but it's hilarious for the rest of us. It's probably something a lot of people have heard, but maybe some people might not have. So I'm going to tell it real quick. The coaches were suspecting that he wasn't really taking his studies seriously, that he wasn't really watching film. So one day they gave him these cassettes, or CDs, to watch a particular coverage or something, whatever it was. They say, hey, break this down. Let us know what you think about it tomorrow. Okay, sure. That's what he says, right? Well, he comes back and, you know, they ask him, well, what did you think? He's like, well, I thought about this. He's making it up. The CDs were blank. They gave him blank CDs thinking he wasn't watching it. And then when he tried to tell them what was on it, they're like, oh, there's nothing on it. Caught him red-handed.
Oh, that is brutal. I love it.
Yep, caught him red-handed. So yeah,
I absolutely love it.
Russell comes to mind. That kid the Jets drafted, Golson, I think his name was. I don't think he had one sack in his whole career. From Ohio State, he looked like a Greek god in practice, and he looked like a Greek gyro on the field.
Yeah, the Jets have a history of drafting workout warriors that never work out.
That can't play, right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's a very good one.
Those 3 come to mind. Let's see. You know who was a big time bust, but they didn't give him a big contract, so he doesn't really fit. But Charles Rogers, the receiver from, I think it was Michigan, he ended up dying, a handful of years after he retired. I think he had like real drug problems. But let's see.
Yes.
Who else do we? Bad contracts. Russell Wilson is certainly looking that way.
That was the first one I thought of.
Like, it might be a little early. It's 1 year, but it doesn't look good right now. I'll tell you that. You know what was a bad contract? And it was more a function of timing than anything else. The Carson Wentz contract the Eagles had signed, because it turned out Foles ended up going and winning the Super Bowl for him, and then it never worked again there. Sam Bradford had a crazy contract at one point too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he's another one. I'm trying to think of some non-quarterbacks. A lot of people thought the contract that the Vikings gave to Adrian Peterson was a little rich, given that, he was a running back. But I mean, it's hard to argue with giving a great contract to one of the 7 or 8 best ever to play a position. It's, I don't think I can include that one. I remember there was a lot of heat around that contract at the time it was signed, but I never shared that sentiment because, well, Adrian Peterson was a monster, and I still believe in having monster running backs if I can get them.
Sean Alexander
Yeah. See, he
of Seattle. They
Yep.
went to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
He's he was the MVP.
Mhm.
But you could kind of tell by the way he played that he wasn't going to have that much in him.
Right. He was
Left in him, and he
No,
didn't. He
no.
had another year or two, and that was a 7-year contract.
Yeah, that's a good one. Tried to think of any receivers that jump to mind. They're generally pretty good with receivers. You don't have a lot of these with wideouts. I think that's a pretty good list. I don't know if I'm missing any. Maybe
I had Deshaun Watson on my list.
Hmm.
Not because I don't think he can play up to the contract, but the 100% guaranteed did it for me.
Yeah, that's it's everything. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a 100% guaranteed contract. Neither does Josh Allen.
Classic example of Brown's gonna Brown.
Yeah, pretty much. Those guarantees, one bad hit, those guarantees are gone.
Yep. All right, let's put this in some kind of order now.
Okay.
I think number one for me, it has to be the Matt Flynn contract, just because it was signed off of one game in a meaningless situation. He was a backup, and he was signed as the savior. It just didn't make any sense. It was just stupid. And, they got saved from themselves by good fortune. Number two is going to be Russell Wilson's contract. You went through the numbers on it and the implications of it a few days ago, middle of last week. And, oh, man, when you really start thinking about that from that perspective, it's the worst contract ever. At least the reason I have it at 2 and not 1 is, at least, even though I was a believer that Wilson was a system quarterback, and so far I've been proven right, at least there was a body of work that you could suggest, okay, this guy's been an all-star, so at least there was something that was some kind of basis for why they would pay him the way they were paying him.
Right.
But now, obviously, with how it's worked out, it's terrible. But the Flynn thing, there was no basis for that. He had one crazy game. So Wilson's gonna be number 2. Number 3, probably Jamarcus Russell. I mean, you very rarely see a number 1 overall pick in any sport bomb so spectacularly as he bombed. And the signing bonuses for quarterbacks then were high because there was no rookie pay scale. And, oh, man, he was horrible. It's just legendary horrible. I mean, him and Anthony Bennett are like the top of my Mount Rushmore of awfulness in number 1 overall picks. It was Kwame Brown, but at least Kwame Brown had like a 10-year, 12-year career of mediocrity. At least he stuck around for a while. These guys were out of the league. Russell barely made a year. I don't even know if he did. He was gone. It was just crazy.
He was around for a couple, but he didn't do much of anything.
Oh, he was so bad. Let's see. So that's number 3. Number 4, I'm going to go with Vernon Gholston. I think it was Vernon Gholston, the defensive lineman from Ohio State that the Jets drafted. Was that Vernon Gholston? Was that another Gholston? I think it was Vernon. He had no sacks in his career. I'm going to look this up real quick. I'm pretty sure it was Gholston. Let's see.
I don't know. They've had so many bad ones.
Yeah. You know what else was a bad contract as it worked out was Atlanta's contract for Michael Vick as well.
Yeah.
He was kind of preoccupied. But yeah, I think it was Golston. If I got that name wrong, I apologize. But that's my number 4. And number 5 is Alexander's a good one.
I still have Rob Johnson on mine.
Rob Johnson, yep.
Quarterback who came in, played one good game for Jacksonville. Real good game.
I think
but got hurt.
Okay.
And then Buffalo signed him to a multi-year deal.
I think I should just put Bobby Bonilla on all these lists, even though he didn't play football. Just like a permanent spot. I'm gonna go with Sean Alexander. That was a pretty bad contract, given he was already pushing 30 when they signed it for a running back, and a running back who played a particular way. So yeah, no, I'll go with that as 5. So that's my top 5. Number 1 is going to be Matt Flynn. Number 2, Russell Wilson. Number 3, Jamarcus Russell. Number 4, Golston. And number 5 is going to be our good friend Sean Alexander.
And that's just a little sprinkling. I mean, I think only time's going to tell on the Kyler Murray contract why you give like almost 25% of your salary cap to one guy.
See, the problem with that is that's kind of like the norm now for quarterbacks. Like that's what the market rate is. The NFL is going to have to do something fairly wholesale and fairly radical to bring that back in line with some level of sustainability with their cap. They're either going to have to completely rework the cap, write in some type of exception for the quarterback position, or somehow rein in that compensation, which the latter is going to be the hardest one to do. Like, I think the first two are more likely because, I mean, that's just what teams are willing to pay for that role. It's just perceived as that essential and that in short supply.
Right.
So that's a tough one. That's a challenge the NFL is going to have to tackle at some point. But no, it's true. I mean, it does put you, whether it's justifiable by market economics or not, it does put you in an awful situation, especially if the guy doesn't pan out, you're dead.
Well, you were higher on him than I was.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a pretty good quarterback.
I just don't think he's a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a very high-paid running back with a good arm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem with him, Lamar Jackson, all these guys, Daniel Jones, all these guys, the problem with all of them is the likelihood of getting someone better is so remote that you're better off just paying them. That's the thing. It's just, and I think Murray is in that category. So but that's what quarterbacks go for. I mean, bottom line, even like a backup, like even someone like Jimmy Garoppolo, for example, will get $20 million a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what are you going to do?
Right, but that's $20 million a year is about 8 to 9% of a team's cap, not a quarter of it.
No, I understand that, but he is not as good as these other guys that have those higher percentages. Murray had a bad year this year, but last year was excellent. So, and he's entering his third year in the league next year? Like, so he's
fourth
year. Okay. So he was a number 1 pick. He played really well his first year and a half, 2 years. He had a bad year this year, had some injuries, some issues with the team, whatever. So, but the point is, you're going to give Murray that contract before you give it to Garoppolo. I mean, I love Garoppolo, but I would. I mean, I'm not going to choose Garoppolo over Murray, given their respective ages and upside versus cap of their abilities. Garoppolo's a solid quarterback, but that's all he is. Murray has the potential to be excellent, and I've seen it from him already. He also has the potential to bomb. I get that. There's a risk with him. He wouldn't be my first choice, but I would pay him what they paid him before I would go into an unknown at that position. And that's the problem. A lot of
Yeah.
teams are in that, they end up in that position. Like that's going to happen with Miami, with Tua. It's already happening right now with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. These guys have their limits, but what are you going to do? I mean, you going to take a chance that you end up with a guy far worse than them or worse than that. And maybe more likely is you end up having 6, 7, 8 years, maybe more before you find stability and you're changing the quarterback and then thus likely the coach every couple of years. That's not what winning organizations do. You can't. It's yes, it's a tough spot. It really is. But yeah, it's a interesting question. But I think it's hard with the NFL because of the oversized importance and thus market dynamics of the quarterback position. It's tough to criticize anyone signing a guy that re-signing a guy. It's one thing with a rookie that's unproven, you have no idea. That's why the NFL put those salary caps, those rookie cap numbers in place. That was needed, long needed when that finally happened.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But it's tough because I mean, look how many teams don't have a good quarterback for years at a time. I mean, there's a handful of teams that have never had a good quarterback. I mean, the Bears and Jets have never had a truly great quarterback, like ever. That's why I count Sid Luckman in the 40s. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. Joe
That
Namath.
goes back a ways.
Joe Namath for like a year and a half. So there we go. Anyway, there's your top 5. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll look back at some NBA. We'll take a look at some of the games for tonight. We mentioned the Knick game a little bit. We'll talk about some of the other games on the slate today. And we have news you can use. That's what's on tap the rest of the way. Back after this, the Gary Ayd Show here in the cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All right, we're back. And take a look at the NBA slate. Got a lot of games today. Some really good ones. One thing when I look at this slate of games here, one game that jumps to mind for me right away is Denver and Minnesota. And the reason that game jumps to mind right away is Minnesota, we talked about them earlier, very underachieving. But if there was ever a game where Rudy Gobert could reassert what he's always been, this is the game to do it. Against Jokic, team is reeling. They're on a 6-game losing streak. This would be the time, if I'm Gobert, that I want to summon all of my abilities and really make an impact. If I could slow Jokic down in an observable way that people notice, that could put me and maybe my team back on the map and back on the right side of things. Because right now, they're teetering on the brink of irrelevancy for the rest of the year if they don't pull something together the next couple of games.
Agreed. And I don't think it's going to be that easy to do against Denver.
Oh, no, it's not. I'm just
especially not with a full squad.
You seem very involved in something.
No, I'm just trying to put together. They're missing someone. They're missing Towns.
Yep.
For better or worse, they're missing Towns, and there's been enough games where Gobert's been missing in action.
Yep.
I just think it's going to be a very, very tough team to beat.
I agree. I totally agree.
They're getting to a point where they have to make something of their season. See, the game that kind of interested me was the Pelicans and Philly.
That's a good game.
If I have my choice at 7, I'm going to watch that over, Raptors, Indiana, or Lakers at Charlotte. Because it's going to be a more appealing game. As far as late games go, the Hawks and Warriors. I definitely want to keep my eye on that game.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. You know what games can be fun? Funny, not fun, but funny is the Spurs and the Nets. I mean, the Nets are going to score 150 with the way they're shooting and the way the Spurs play defense.
Well, what have they won? Like their last 11 in a row?
11 straight. They're shooting the lights out, and San Antonio gives up over 120 a game. What do you make?
They could as long as they don't take the game off.
What do you make about Chicago and Cleveland? I actually think Chicago is going to win this game. Cleveland's without a lot of people, particularly Mobley and Garland, who look like they're going to be doubtful in this one. Chicago's been playing a little bit better lately. I think Chicago pulls an upset tonight. I really do.
I'm not going to say that just yet. They were without Mobley last game, and hey, what happened? They end up winning with Love going 20-9.
Yep.
So I'm not going to discount them only because I think they have the better team, even without two very important players. But hey, what do I know?
Hey, just some guy on the radio.
That's right. It should be a fairly interesting game, though.
I do think the most competitive game on this docket tonight is the one we talked about earlier with with Phoenix and New York. I think that's a really important game and a really good game, and New Orleans and Philly. Those two.
I agree. I think that's going to be a lot better game than people are anticipating, because the Knicks do have two starters missing.
Mm-hmm.
But the Suns have one. The Knicks are at home. And obviously, if Vegas only gives it a 1.5,
right,
that I don't think they see it as problematic, missing the two players, especially with the way they could fill in. Now, are they going to? I don't know.
Yeah.
How are they going to fill in? Tibbs's reluctance to play Reddish drives me nuts.
It is crazy.
You're going to have to guard someone at some point. If you throw Fournier in there, you're still not guarding anybody.
You talk about a game where you might not have to guard anybody. Miami and the Clippers tonight. If you like points, this is not the game for you, at least by modern NBA standards. Of course, if this game was from 20 years ago, you would think, oh my God, it's a shoot fest. Both teams average over 109. But in the modern NBA, averaging 109 is the equivalent of averaging like 88 back in like 95.
Yes, and they're 29th, the Clippers, and 30th, respectively, the Heat.
So if you want to, you like points, this isn't the game for you. But this could be an interesting matchup too. Two teams that have had up and down seasons, injuries and other things have been at the forefront of it. Miami just doesn't have enough offensive talent. Clippers maybe at
Clippers
times
are fairly healthy.
They're healthy now, yeah. But this is an interesting game. Clippers are home in that one. They're on the 2-game skid, so this could be a good one for them to win. Miami is one of these teams that they drive you crazy because they're close in a lot of these games, but they very often lose games that you think they're going to win. But the Clippers do the same thing.
Right.
So this game could be very interesting.
Right. The Clippers lost Indiana team the other night by deciding not to play anyone bigger than 6'7" when the Pacers had Miles Turner in the game.
Shades of Doc Rivers coaching decisions right there.
Yeah, well, it's Ty Lue, so
there we go.
Like head coach, like assistant, I guess.
I guess the two of them are going to trade off of the one championship they won for like the rest of their lives. Like them and the I tell you, there's nothing. There's two teams in all of my years following the NBA have gotten more mileage out of their championships than anybody. The 04 Pistons and the 08 Celtics. Somehow, like that, those championships count as multipliers for some reason. Like, especially to the players. Like Paul Pierce is such a curmudgeon. He's such a hater, and he particularly detests LeBron James. And there's something funny. I saw this yesterday. He said, this is Paul Pierce talking, if I did what he did, I'd be sitting here with 4 rings and the conversations about me would be a lot different. That 2008 ring will always mean more. Oh, please. What do you mean if you did what he did? You didn't have Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo on your team that year? Like, okay, so what was the difference? LeBron chose the guys he wanted to play with and chose where he was moving, whereas you chose the guys you wanted to play with and they came to you by trade instead of free agents? Is that because that's all we're talking about, right? Is mode of assembly. We're not talking about the difference in talent. I mean, if anything, that Celtics team had more talent than the Miami Heat team did. I mean,
and Pierce is ridiculous.
He's
with all
such
this.
a whiner. I mean, you're the same guy that came out in the friggin' wheelchair, dude, and sat at half court. I remember that. Could you imagine if LeBron did that? The crap
media
he
would
would
never
get?
let it go.
Oh my God. This guy sat in the wheelchair and then played the second half. Like, give me a break. And I loved Paul Pierce as a player, but dude, I'm sorry. I know you hate him, but LeBron's better than you by like a lot.
Oh, it's
Like,
not even
so
close.
let's like try not to play in that sandbox, okay? Like, please.
He believes he belongs in the conversation. No. He doesn't belong in the same room.
No, he's not in the same room.
In fact, you could say he doesn't belong in the same zip code.
Yeah, the same zip code. No, I think that's better. I was gonna say building, but yeah, same zip code. Let's go with that. Oh my goodness, this guy drives me crazy. But yeah, these
utterly ridiculous.
These guys, though, man, I tell you, like the 04 Pistons and the 08 Celtics, they try to get all this mileage out of their rings, and the media lets them do it. And whatever. Hey.
Well, the Celtics are relevant. So when are you going to see the Pistons at that level again?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a while. I mean, since then.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, they had a little bit of a period in there in like the 2010s where they were still like reasonably good, but they were never real threats. No, it's been a long time. I'm disappointed that Cade Cunningham is missing this season. I was looking forward to him and Ivy playing together.
I am too.
I wanted to see that.
I did not think it was going to be that bad. But then when they said, well, the surgery is going to put him out for the year, that's awful.
When I see those things, I often wonder, did the surgery really put him out for the year, or are they just using it as a convenient excuse to keep him out for the year and tank and basically just punt their year of expectation escalation by one more year? Because, like, to me, I felt the Warriors did that with Curry's hand injuries. I feel like the Spurs did, Kawhi did that with his injury with the Spurs. Like, I feel like this has happened plenty of times before. So I'm always skeptical when an injury that has historical precedent for a certain period of time to come back from, all of a sudden that period of time is double. I always raise an eyebrow to it, like, is there other motives here?
Yeah, but if they didn't do that to Cunningham, were they not going to tank anyway?
But you play your best guys when you can, especially a young player like that who's still trying to prove himself, and you just drafted him a running mate. I want to see that. Like, if I'm not talking about a fan. If I'm like the front office, I want at least a part of a season to evaluate that, to see what we have there. If I'm still building, I want to know what we're building on top of. I think it's important. But, again,
Agreed.
what do I know?
I agree. But again, guys on the radio, man.
We're just guys on the radio. That's right. Just some dudes. The crazy cat. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got some news you can use, and we also have a little bit more as it relates to Major League Baseball. Still nothing from Carlos Correa. Now the Mets are rumored to be talking to the Red Sox about a Rafael Devers trade, is the latest gossip talk I'm hearing.
Whoa.
Nothing substantial yet, but a few people who are plugged in are discussing this. So we got that to talk about as well. We'll do that first, then we'll do the news you can use. That's what's on tap the rest of the show. It's the Gary Ayd Show, back after this here on The Cave.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All right, we are back, and yeah, the news is Rafael Devers may be on the Mets' radar as the negotiations with Correa continue to drag on and or stall. No real news on that really since Christmas. There was some talk that maybe it would just be a siesta due to the holidays. Of course, today in a lot of places is still considered a holiday because the actual holiday yesterday was, of course, a weekend. So a lot of places are observing today. So we'll see if maybe something breaks there and sometime later in this week. But for the time being, it sounds like the Mets are looking at I love our new version of contingency plans. Like I like how our contingency plans are now one top 20 player. Oh, that might not work out. All right, fine. Let's go for another top 20 player. Instead of having contingency, our contingency plans used to be Jed Lowry, and now they're Rafael Devers. I think I like this change of ownership.
That really is nice. What a difference. Why would the Red Sox?
Well, now remember, this would be a trade because Devers is still under contract. So the package I saw was Beatty, a number of their top Mets have a great farm system, particularly with pitching. Number of their top pitching arms, and like one other piece. So like the Red Sox would get a relative haul here. And to answer your question, why? They've already gone this far with all of the people. They may as well like actually do the rebuild at this point, right? I mean, unless you just want to keep Devers and reload around him, which they have the resources to do, but it doesn't seem they're wired that way anymore. They seem to have gone the other way where they're going into cheap mode while the Mets are going into buy things mode.
See, that's just what I don't get.
So
I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, it is perplexing. I mean, when you see a market like Boston just go into this mode where they're just like seemingly unwilling to pay their own players, it just makes you wonder why.
Feel like I'm watching Pittsburgh or Kansas City.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Or Detroit or someone like that. Yeah, like what are you doing? You talk about a city that's in the dumps. I mean, Detroit sports are terrible. It's never good when the Lions are the best thing in town. It's usually a bad sign.
They have a shot at the playoffs.
Yes.
They need help, but they have a shot.
They have a shot.
Hey, speaking of having a shot, the Steelers.
Yeah, I know.
Beat the Ravens. Pickett threw a late touchdown pass for the second week in a row. They've won 5 out of their last 6. Now they have to beat the Browns. Mm-hmm. And the Dolphins have to lose to the Jets, and the Patriots have to lose to the Bills.
Well, the Dolphins could lose to the Jets.
And the Patriots could lose to the Bills.
Certainly.
But they're also both competing for a spot.
That's the thing.
For the last
Well, especially
spot.
the Patriots. If the Patriots win, they're in. As far as I know. So. And we'll get.
I wasn't sure about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it absolutely could be.
Well, we'll go into these scenarios more on Wednesday. I'm sorry, more tomorrow. We'll do our power rankings Wednesday. But yeah, I don't know. I just look at it like this. I think when you look at where the Boston Red Sox are and where they were just a few years ago, it's you have to wonder what changed in that room, what changed in that ownership thinking, like because they did a full 360. I mean, they went from like they were up there with the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Angels among payroll leaders, and now they're like seemingly committed to like going and hanging out with their buddies in Oakland. Like, what are they doing?
That's a very good question.
Like, and it's not like they've like brought in all these, like, it's not like they traded all these guys. Some of them they traded, but a lot of them they just like let go. Like Mookie Betts, they just let him go.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't understand it.
I would not be
really
happy if
don't.
I was a Red Sox fan right now.
No, because it seems like they're just shutting it down.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. They're not trying. It doesn't look like they're competing anymore. That's what it looks like.
Okay, so
yes,
looking back at these, yeah, the Lions, the Packers, and Seahawks are all still in the hunt.
Yep.
Patriots, Dolphins, Steelers, Titans are all still in the hunt, but they also list the Raiders at 6 and 10. How? The best they could finish is 7 and 10. Worst the Dolphins and Steelers can do is 9 losses. Or the Patriots for that matter. So I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, how is that possible? How are they not eliminated?
I don't get
They
it.
are eliminated. They are.
That's what I thought. I don't
Yeah.
know why they're listed here as in the hunt.
They just probably didn't update it properly.
The Jaguars are not in yet at 8-8. If they lose and the Titans win, the Titans can win that division and go in at 8-9.
If the Jaguars win, are they in?
They're in.
Yeah. Okay.
It just does not make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's the beauty and bad thing about divisions. It's like you can get in when you don't deserve it, and then at other times you could like miss the playoffs when you do deserve it. Like remember a while back, Brady, the year he was hurt, Patriots went 11-5, but they didn't make the playoffs because I think the Jets that year, or not the Jets, the Dolphins, powered by Ricky Henderson, won like a bunch of games.
Right.
And then Ricky Williams. And then
oh yeah.
Yeah, Ricky Henderson. And then
Dolphins decided to play baseball.
Yes, Ricky Williams. And then I think there was another team that had like a big record too. I think the Colts and whoever else, maybe Jacksonville, actually both have big records. So the Patriots with 11 wins didn't get a wild card and didn't win the division. So that happens.
And
sometimes.
speaking of bad contracts, and the Chiefs gave Matt Castle a huge one.
Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about that one. Yes.
After that 11-year win in the Patriots
Yes.
confines.
Or Matt Schaub, remember him with Atlanta?
Yeah.
Another interesting contract.
Okay, who's gonna make Jared Stidham the big offer now?
Josh McDaniels.
Seeing as how he threw 3 touchdown passes yesterday.
That's it. All right,
now, here's something you need to explain to me. The Buccaneers are no, that's okay. Yeah, never mind. They've clinched at 8-8.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose, they'll be in at 8-9. That division is putrid.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah. I feel like you have one of these divisions every year. There's always one division where it's just like, okay, they're the charity case. For a while, it was the NFC East. A little while, it was the NFC West. It just seems to bounce around.
They're both South divisions this year.
Yeah, we have 2 of them this year, AFC and NFC South.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Let's see. We get some
It makes
answers.
absolutely 0 sense.
Toby, can you explain this for us? No? Okay, I tried. Sorry.
And you were talking about the Carson Wentz contract.
Yep.
Well, they went back to Carson Wentz yesterday, Washington, and got drilled by a not really good Browns team. And did you see Ron Rivera's post-game presser?
Yeah, he didn't realize that they could still make the playoffs. Like, wait a minute. What do you mean? You're the head coach of the team. What do you mean you'll know? What?
Of course, the Packers fixed goods.
Yes.
But yeah, he did not know. And that really...
That's bad. That really is bad.
It's pathetic. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, it just shouldn't happen.
Now, I mean, that's... Washington gave him 2 chances, Wentz, when they signed him after completely falling apart.
Yep.
And, the year before in Indy, and then putting him back in as a starter. Why would you do that?
Because you didn't know you could still make the playoffs. Like, really? Because, no, truly, if that's actually true, if he didn't just have like a stupid moment where he said something that wasn't true, where he was lying, thinking he was helping himself.
Well, he honestly thought the loss eliminated them.
Well, did he think going into the game they couldn't make the playoffs? Because that would be the only reason why you would go with Wentz again, I think.
Oh, no, that was just a goof.
Crazy.
I mean, the whole thing makes absolutely zero sense.
Yes.
The whole thing, and that's just that is just the state of that franchise.
Yeah, they're a dumpster fire. There's no question about that. Total dumpster fire. All right, what do we got for news you can use today?
Oh, I don't have a lot.
Okay.
Let's see what we're looking at here. Matt Ishbia is finalizing a deal to purchase the Suns and the Mercury from Robert Sarver.
He's a pretty young guy. I think he's in his like late 30s or something.
He played 3 years at Michigan State. He was a walk-on. And he came off the bench for a single minute apiece in their 2000 NCAA championship and a 2001 Final Four loss. He graduated. He went to work. Yeah, he is young. For his father's lending company, succeeded him as president in 2013. He was 33, which would make him about 42 now.
Yep.
Took the company public at a valuation of over $16 billion. And he has enough money to buy this team.
Good for him.
Which shocked me. Now, Sarver announced plans to sell like in the fall.
Yes.
After the NBA published all that investigation finding stuff into allegations. And they suspended him for the season and fined him $10 million. Well, that wasn't enough. Sarver apologized and he said he was going to return a better man the next year, but Players Association, sponsors, his own ownership group and the league office put so much pressure on that they got him to sell. And it surprised you more than it surprised me.
Oh, it didn't surprise me. It infuriated me. It didn't surprise me at all. This is what's happened before. These owners have no balls. Like, they just have to stand up to that stuff. That stuff's gonna come. Like, 100% in this world right now, if you're successful, and you happen to be a male in particular, and you're older, this is gonna happen. It's 1,000,000% chance it's gonna happen. Particularly if you're to the right of Mao on anything. But like,
yeah.
So I'm disappointed. I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed that none of these owners have any balls to tell them to go screw themselves. Go ahead and take me out in chains. Go ahead. I dare you. I'm a billionaire too. I can afford legal fees forever, just like the league can. But let's go.
Well, how do you, though, if you start losing sponsorships, etc.?
Well, because I don't need that. Like, all of these owners, and Sarver's no different, they could lose money on the NBA stuff year after year after year. It's not their money. Like, their money comes from all their other businesses. Like, all of them are financially capable of just taking a stand and saying no. They are.
Yeah, but for how long?
Indefinitely. They have the money to do that because it's their money. It's not like it's a savings account that's going to run dry. Their money is coming in from income from things that are still going to be there. So it's indefinite. Like, they just choose not to. And in a normal situation, I understand why they make that choice. But this precedent that has now been set and perfected and executed multiple times in multiple sports, one of these guys has to think this isn't okay, and I'm going to be the one to do something about it. And I'm just, with each one of these, I'm disappointed that whoever is the flavor of the month doesn't choose to be that person. Whether it's Sarver, Sterling, Snyder, any of them, it doesn't matter. Jerry Richardson, all these guys, they all had the same thing happen to him, basically.
True. I mean, and I remember Sarver saying in the fall that the 1 year thing would provide him the time to focus, make amends. But in the current unforgiving climate, it's become painfully clear that's no longer possible.
Well, that's why I'm not even giving them that. Even if I think I did something wrong, I'm not giving them that much because it's not going to benefit me anyway. So the hell with it. I'm fighting tooth and nail from the very start. And I really thought of all of them, I really thought Snyder was going to be the one to do that. So, but
I did too.
Disappointment is the word, not surprise. Disappointment for sure.
But he bought that team 18 years ago for $401 million.
No, I look, I understand the temptation to sell.
And he's getting $4 billion back.
Look,
that's a nice return on investment.
Yes, it definitely is. So
at least I think so.
I would take it, yes. Oh, look at this. Gary McKee, apparently a runner, completed his 1 million, is this miles? Completed a marathon every day of 2022. So this guy completed a marathon every day of this year after completing his final run the other day. So that's 26.2 miles. That's insane.
Wow. That is incredible.
He raised €1 million in charity with his efforts. So 20 pairs of shoes, 9,500 miles. That's in 1 year. There we go.
I couldn't drive that far. Oh my God.
Insanity, huh?
It is. One more quick one. Yesterday, Nuggets head coach Michael Malone talked about why people are saying they shouldn't vote for Nikola Jokic. He said they're lazy. He said, I don't care what people think about him, and I know Nikola doesn't care either. But if people are arguing that he shouldn't win because he's won twice, that's lazy. And I don't disagree.
Oh, that's a terribly lazy argument. Now, I will say, like in most years, there are multiple well-worthy candidates this year. Certainly Doncic would be top among that list. Jokic is one of them, though. So is Embiid. Those three right now, and Kevin Durant, with the way the Nets are playing, has made a case for himself as well. I think right now those would be the four guys that I would be looking at as MVP candidates at the moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they won't vote for him again. They wouldn't vote for him again because that winning 3 puts you in very rare air and he doesn't belong there. I'm like, he might average a triple-double this year. Yeah. I don't care what air that puts you in. He's earning this.
Yes. Yeah, no, he's playing tremendous. Ooh, little sad news here. Martina Navratilova was diagnosed with 2 forms of cancer.
Oh.
That's not good. And also,
that's awful.
Rest in peace to Pele. We didn't get a chance to really talk about that.
Yes.
But he died over the holiday weekend, too.
Yes. A true trendsetter.
Yep. One of the greats. Yeah, so Navratilova has both.
One of the OGs.
One of the OGs, yes. Turns out she has both throat cancer and breast cancer.
That's awful.
Very sad. Anyway, well, there you have it. All right, so we will be back tomorrow. We will start with our NFL. NFL power rankings tomorrow. We'll also have, of course, lots of NBA, 10 games, 11 games tonight. So we'll have that to talk about, and maybe something will happen.
Are we doing the playoff scenarios tomorrow?
We have to do the playoff scenarios too. Yes. Yep.
Oh, great.
Power rankings and playoff scenarios. It'll be good stuff.
Perfect.
A lot to get to tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.